All right, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into a stack of sources that takes us straight to North Wales,
Mm,
to a village called Lunelyn. And on the surface, it's the definition of tranquil.
right. Life moves slowly, predictably. That's the whole vibe.
But beneath that surface, our sources detail a really complex mystery rooted in two events that seem totally separate.
And that contrast is really the core investigative challenge here. For you, the listener, our mission is to follow the process that connects these two, you know, seemingly unrelated incidents.
We're looking for the tiny details, right? The things no one else saw.
Exactly. The cracks in the deception. We're talking about clues as small as a specific shade of nail polish or the height of a coffin in the ground,
Even a missing dog lead.
even a missing dog lead.
Ah.
These are the threads that end up revealing a really brutal, calculated truth.
I love that this deep dive is less about traditional forensics and more about the power of just observation.
Mm.
And our key guide through this whole thing is a woman named Penny Brannigan. She's a Canadian expat who runs a local manicure shop.
Happy Hands Nail Care.
Happy Hands, right. And she becomes this unwitting pivot point for the entire investigation.
Well, she had this deep, affectionate bond with the deceased, Emma Teasdale. Emma was a beloved retired school teacher in her early 70s who passed away peacefully in early June.
And Penny, in this really beautiful gesture of respect, performs a final service for her.
A post-mortem manicure. It's quite a unique thing to do.
It's a critical detail. She gave her deceased friend a professional manicure, and she used Emma's favorite color
Alter ego.
from the bridal collection, which is just, what an incredible detail.
And she does this in the quiet premises of the undertaker, Reitman and Sons. So this private act of devotion done outside of public view, it becomes this vital chronological marker.
A date stamp.
A date stamp, yeah.
Yep.
Fixed to a specific day, which turns out to be crucial in a major homicide investigation. It's the ultimate example of, domestic detail colliding with high-stakes crime.
And Penny's world is all about meticulous detail.
It is. The shape of a cuticle, the precise application of color. And that expertise, applied in a moment of grief, is what makes her the perfect witness later on.
So let's transition from the quiet melancholy of Emma's passing to the high-wattage spectacle that was about to hit Flamlin.
The Gruffydd wedding.
Yeah, we need to zoom in on this. This was a spectacular social collision between local Welsh wealth. We're talking Ymir Gruffydd and his family's ancestral home, Tybrith Hall.
And on the other side, this high-end London sophistication embodied by the glamorous bride, Meg Wynne Thompson.
And this contrast wasn't an accident.
No, not at all. It was the central theme of Meg Wynne's life. Our sources describe her as having meticulously engineered her entire persona to secure this very marriage. She saw Emir and Tybrith Hall as, the ultimate prize.
It's more than just social claiming, isn't it? It's a complete self-recreation.
Absolutely. Meg Wynne was from Durham. Her father was a lorry driver, her mother a shop assistant.
Solid working-class roots.
Right. But by the time she was 28, she had systematically erased every single trace of that past. She studied society magazines like they were textbooks. She knew all the designers, the right venues, how to hold a Louis Vuitton bag.
She underwent a full-scale redesign.
You could call it that, yeah. A social and physical one. She hired an acting coach, specifically to neutralize her northern accent.
And replace it with what she thought was a suitably posh Dutchy tone.
Exactly. And cosmetic surgery to refine her appearance, to ensure she had this curated, sophisticated kind of beauty. Her whole bearing, the sources really stress this, was one of triumph.
Not happiness, triumph.
That's the word they use. It was the victory lap of a woman who had worked tirelessly to transcend her origins and get very, very wealthy.
And she viewed marriage as a transaction.
A strategic one.
Yeah.
It was about taking her life to, and I'm quoting here, the level above the next level.
Wow.
So when Amir proposed with his mother's heirloom ring, she insisted on getting it reset in a modern platinum setting from Cartier.
That's cool.
And her decision to marry in Wales wasn't romantic. It was pragmatic. She refused to hold the wedding in Durham.
Because she wanted to avoid those ugly, embarrassing working-class associations.
Exactly. She was severing ties with the past. She was so determined to escape. She was known for shedding friends, colleagues, even old lovers the moment they'd, quote, outlive their usefulness.
That suggests a profound level of emotional calculation.
It does. And that ruthless drive, that ambition, it ultimately becomes a psychological weak point that the killer is able to exploit.
Which brings us to the morning of the disappearance. that fateful Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Meg Wynn's preparation for her wedding day was scheduled with the precision of a military operation.
Up early, dressed in her running gear, for a 40-minute jog across the picturesque old three-arch bridge over the River Conwy.
Her discipline was just extraordinary. She comes back and has this specific minimalist breakfast.
Light vanilla yogurt, tea with lemon, half a grapefruit, a slice of unbuttered whole wheat toast. Every calorie, every movement was controlled.
All in preparation for fitting into that wedding gown.
And it was exactly at 9 a.m. when the woman claiming to be Meg Wynn Thompson arrives at Penny's salon for her manicure.
And Penny notices something immediately.
She does. The client's extreme self-confidence. Her poise. There were none of the usual, fluttery, nervous, or scatterbrained movements you'd expect from a bride just hours away from walking down the aisle.
She was too calm.
That observation later proves foundational. And it was during this appointment that the small talk, it yielded this massive insight.
The flowers.
The flowers. Penny recalled the conversation turning to the wedding flowers, and the client explicitly said they weren't having roses.
Which is traditional.
Very. Instead, they were using peonies and lily of the valley. And she wasn't shy about it either.
She boasted about it, that she'd even designed a custom peony fragrance.
Convinced that peonies would be the next big thing. And that piece of self-important chit-chat, the peonies, that is the killer's operational fingerprint. It establishes that the person sitting in Penny's chair had intimate knowledge of the wedding details.
There's one other little detail from that morning, isn't there, before the appointment?
Right. The woman spent a moment writing something on a yellow notepad in the hotel room. She was looking out the window, almost as if she was settling a score or planning an escape route.
And then she tore the note into small, jagged pieces and dumped them in the wastebasket before rushing off to meet Penny.
It suggests she was dealing with something really pressing, something troubling, right up to the moment she had to be seen in public.
So the narrative tension just spikes mid-morning. By 11:00 a.m., the bride is half an hour late for her London hairdresser, Alberto. And this was wildly out of character.
So her bridesmaids, Jennifer and Anne, their London PR executives, along with Imar, they start searching immediately. And their growing dread is in sharp contrast to Immer's initial reaction.
He was in denial.
Profound denial. He kept insisting she was just delayed, saying she could be anywhere doing just about anything. He vigorously resisted involving the police.
Maybe out of shame? Or just to protect the family name?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But the immediate physical clues, they spoke volumes. This was almost certainly not a voluntary disappearance.
The dress.
The stunning Suzanne Glendon wedding gown. A strapless confection of the palest ivory with a heavily beaded bodice. It was just hanging pristine in the closet, untouched.
And as one of our sources notes, this dress wasn't just clothing, it was the physical culmination of her entire ambitious journey.
What woman who had worked that hard for that prize would simply walk away from it? It doesn't make sense.
Plus, her most valuable jewelry, the chandelier earrings, the diamond hair clip from Emmer's father.
A huge symbol of her acceptance into the Griffith family.
Right. And a fiery red gold Welsh dragon brooch. All of it was still in the hotel safe.
The fact that the most expensive visible markers of her success were left behind suggested she didn't flee hastily.
Or willingly abandon her wedding. This was a forced non-appearance.
And this is the moment the police intervention becomes crucial. DCI Davies arrives. He's described as this calm, experienced guy who loves cycling and gardening.
A methodical thinker.
Exactly. And he's with the younger, keen, and enthusiastic D.S. Morgan. Their initial inquiries immediately highlight the bride's volatile background.
They speak to her estranged parents, the Thompsons.
And they confirm the estrangement. They note their daughter's intense independence and loyalty to her London circle, but then they drop this critical piece of information.
Her brother had died about a year prior.
And he'd been mixed up with bad company, and drugs were involved.
So that immediately raises the specter that this sophisticated London life Meg Wynn cultivated had some dark criminal undercurrents.
Right. She wasn't just a graphic designer. She was operating in circles where large sums of money, dubious connections, and high-risk behavior were probably normalized.
And D.S. Morgan's initial assessment provides the definitive takeaway here.
When she saw the sheer elegance and value of that untouched Suzanne Glendon gown,
the realization was chilling.
Meg Wynn did not choose to miss her wedding. Someone chose for her.
So now we hit the first major pivot in the investigation. The police are working under the assumption that Meg Wynn was abducted or met with foul play after the manicure.
But Penny Brannigan, the meticulous observer, she just overturns that entire theory.
Completely. Penny, having given her statement and looked at the police's formal newspaper photo of Meg Wynne.
The elegant, serene portrait.
Right. She has this terrifying, sudden realization.
The woman she had manicured was not the woman in the photo.
So the last known, confirmed sighting of Meg Wynne Thompson was, in fact, an entirely different person. A ringer.
A ringer, yes.
How did she spot the difference? Was it the hands?
It was subtle but definitive, and Penny's professional eye just picked it up immediately. She noticed a slight difference in the cuticles, the shape of the fingernails.
And crucially,
the lack of a tiny, barely visible scar on the real Meg Wynne's left ring finger. The woman she manicured did not have it.
So the imposter was deployed to establish an alibi?
And to make sure the whole runaway bride story gained traction, the body had already been disposed of.
That just shifts the whole investigation. They're not looking for a victim anymore. They're looking for a corpse. And a calculated killer who planned this whole deception.
But here's where the mystery pivots back to the quiet death of Emma Teasdale.
Emma's funeral takes place on the Monday. Penny attends, finding some solace in the service at St. Ellen's.
And she's particularly moved by the unexpected, beautiful harp music.
Played by Victoria Hopkirk, a friend of the rector's wife. It's a moment of solemn, quiet closure.
But the seeds of the truth are planted right there at the graveside. And this is where we have to talk about the immense power of, well, observational bias, or in this case, the breaking of an expected visual perspective.
The clue doesn't really land until later that week, does it?
No. It's when Penny is speaking with Evelyn Lloyd, one of her regular clients, and Mrs. Lloyd is deeply unhappy because her new hat.
Her new feathered hat.
It's sitting way too high on her head after she had it cleaned.
Hold on. We are talking about a major homicide case, and the breakthrough comes from a complaint about a hat. That seems almost unbelievable.
That's the genius of it. It highlights that breakthroughs often come from lateral thinking, applying domestic expertise to abnormal situations. The moment Mrs. Lloyd complains about the hat sitting too high, Penny has this immediate gut-wrenching realization.
She remembers the scene at Emma's graveside. The coffin was too high.
Precisely. It was too close to them when the mourners scattered handfuls of earth during the dust-to-dust, ashes-to-ashes part of the service.
She realized the customary distance between the surface and the coffin was gone.
And that anomaly meant one thing. The grave was either too shallow or, far more chillingly, something else was already occupying the space beneath the coffin.
That is an extraordinary piece of deduction. It relies entirely on visual parallax, the difference in how you perceive distance based on the mundane experience of scattering earth.
It is.
How did she ever convince DCI Davies of this incredibly circumstantial hunch?
Well, she presented it with corroborating detail. Davies and Morgan, they investigated the theory, and they were able to confirm that feeling was shared.
So it wasn't just her.
No. Reverend Evans, the rector, he admitted that he, too, had felt the coffin was shallow. He specifically recalled thinking the brass nameplate seemed closer to his eye level than usual.
Which made him mistakenly assume the font size on the plate must have been larger than standard.
Exactly. The closer proximity made him misjudge the scale.
And when they checked with the undertaker,
Philip Whiteman confirmed the font was standard issue. Therefore, the physical anomaly, the coffin sitting too high, was real. The killer had used the pre-planned logistics of Emma Teasdale's peaceful funeral as the perfect, ready-made concealment mechanism.
I have to pause here. That insight, that the perfect hiding place for a high-profile murder victim is directly beneath a low-profile, widely accepted, and time-sensitive community event like a funeral, that is absolutely brilliant.
It's the ultimate Trojan horse.
It must have secured permission for an exhumation right away.
It did, from the home office. But for the grave area, not the coffin itself. Working silently in the pre-dawn hours, the team found exactly what Penny predicted.
Meg Wynne Thompson's body.
Recovered from beneath Emma Teasdale's coffin.
And the forensic detail. It reveals the brutality of the crime. This wasn't some delicate abduction.
No, this was savage. The coroner determined cause of death was homicide via several heavy blows to the back of the head.
Delivered with a flat, blunt instrument.
Yes. And additionally, there were ligature marks around her neck indicating strangulation. Death was estimated to have occurred about a week prior.
So on the Friday morning before the Saturday wedding, meaning the ringer was in place, actively running the deception for over a day before the official panic even began. Let's look at the other forensic findings, because they really paint a picture of a criminal enterprise, not just a crime of passion.
Right. They found the real Meg Wynne's mobile, but also a second phone.
And the second phone was crucial.
It belonged to an 11-year-old boy named Simon Redfern from Putney, London, who had reported it lost or stolen months ago.
This is the smoking gun that connects the rural Welsh disappearance directly to a London criminal network.
And critically, this second phone held 2 clear sets of unidentified adult fingerprints.
Confirming 2 perpetrators.
The killer and the ringer.
And the reading material found in Meg Wynn's hotel room seals the link to organized crime.
A slim volume entitled Street Drugs, which is wildly out of character for this fashion-obsessed graphic designer.
It points strongly towards her being entangled in the drug trade.
Given her high-end graphic design career, she had the perfect cover and network within London media and PR circles areas often used for money laundering or distribution. Her sophisticated life wasn't funded purely by design fees.
It was likely fueled by criminal proceeds.
And finally, that torn scrap of yellow paper Penny saw the imposter tear up.
It was recovered from under the waste bin.
And the remaining fragment possibly read, Momo. Davies, the methodical thinker, he speculated this was an acronym for the Museum of Modern Art in New York.
Their planned honeymoon destination.
Exactly. This strongly suggests Meg Wynn wasn't just planning her wedding, she was planning an exit strategy. A complete break from her London connections once she was safely abroad and financially secure.
So the note was likely a final threat or contact detail?
Related to the drug operation she was trying to leave behind.
Okay, so the discovery of the body beneath the coffin confirms Meg Wynn was murdered and replaced by a ringer. But the deepest analytical challenge is still there. Who hired the ringer?
Why did the ringer know about the peonies?
That intimate knowledge is the key.
It is. The imposter mentioning those specific details, peonies and lily of the valley, was proof this was an inside job. The killer wasn't some random London thug.
They had intimate access to the wedding plans and Emir's immediate circle.
Which immediately shifts suspicion to Emir Gruffydd and his best man, David Williams, the 2 men closest to the wedding logistics.
And this is where Penny Brannigan's ability to connect these domestic dots provides the breakthrough on the murder weapon itself.
The forensic team knew it was a flat, blunt instrument and a ligature. Penny knew what it was because of a conversation with the hall housekeeper, Gwenny.
Gwenny, obsessed with Emir's black lab Trixie.
Right. She'd been complaining that Trixie's red retractable dog lead had gone missing the morning of the wedding.
Which coincides perfectly with the murder timeline.
To everyone else, this was just an insignificant domestic frustration. To Penny, it was the missing weapon.
I need you to walk us through Penny's analysis of that lead, because it has to fit the forensic evidence perfectly. How does a dog lead become both a blunt instrument and a ligature?
It's chillingly efficient. Penny got a similar retractable lead and demonstrated it for DCI Davies. The retractable leads of that era, they have a heavy, thick plastic case.
That's the blunt instrument.
That case provides the weight and flatness to deliver the heavy blows to the back of the head. Then, the thick nylon strap that connects the case to the long cord and the dog collar.
That's the ligature.
It's the perfect heavy ligature for strangulation. It fulfilled both forensic requirements in a single, common, readily available domestic object.
A weapon that anyone might handle, and that could be easily rationalized as just being misplaced. No one would immediately associate a missing dog lead with a brutal murder.
Exactly. It's the ultimate disposable, overlooked weapon. But identifying the weapon wasn't enough. They needed to identify the killer's psychology.
And this is where the investigation takes its most unusual turn.
Relying not on current forensics, but on decades-old academic profiles.
Emma Teasdale's old-school notebooks from 1983.
Penny, Victoria, and Reverend Evans, they believed in Emma's old adage, show me the boy and I'll give you the man.
They wanted to profile the key men, Emir, Robbie Llewellyn, and David Williams, based on their childhood personalities, as observed by their teacher.
It's a remarkable leap of faith, but it proves incredibly effective. Emma Teasdale was known for her meticulous notes on her students' characters, not just their grades.
They were hoping to find a psychological roadmap.
And they did. Let's look at the insights. Robbie Llewellyn, now a successful lawyer, was characterized as sharp-witted, with careful and sustained work.
A profile that fits a man suited for detail and planning, but maybe not explosive violence.
Right. Emir Gruffydd's profile was more sympathetic, but, well, damning in its weakness. Emma noted he lacked strength, was easily led.
And crucially, that he needed a strong woman-mother figure.
This suggests he was highly susceptible to influence and would struggle to stand up to a powerful, controlling figure, a trait that makes him susceptible to being covered up for or even deceived.
But the profile for David Williams, Immer's best man, that was the one that provided the clear picture of the killer.
What did Emma write about him all those years ago?
It read like a psychological prediction. Very self-confident, blames others when things go wrong, alarming sense of entitlement, will stop at nothing to get what he wants, ruthless.
Wow.
And she added, home life unsettled and violent, will likely end up in a position of some power or in trouble with the law.
That is extraordinary. That profile from 1983 perfectly describes a sociopath capable of orchestrating a murder and a complex cover-up.
And Williams's current status rumored wealth from London real estate, but persistent whispers of involvement with exclusive, high-stakes, possibly illegal gaming tables, it just fits the description perfectly.
This confirmed their primary suspicion. The man who orchestrated the brutal murder and the deployment of the ringer was the best man.
David Williams.
So the threat level then just skyrockets.
Victoria Hopkirk, who had moved into Penny's flat above the salon, she becomes the next target.
The attack occurs in Penny's shop. The attacker, later confirmed to be Gillian Messenger,
The ringer.
the ringer. She entered the shop wearing a baseball cap pulled low, clearly attempting to silence or intimidate Penny's circle. The speed and aggression of the attack confirmed that the killer and his accomplice were actively targeting anyone who might unravel their scheme.
But that's only emboldened Penny and Victoria.
They knew they needed objective evidence to support the psychological profile and the dog lead theory. And Penny, once again, found it in the mundane archives of her life.
She located old photos taken by Ellen Gwilt. These were just casual snapshots taken on the high pasture the exact morning Meg Wynne disappeared.
And the photos had a date stamp.
Yes. Trixie, the black lab, was clearly visible wearing her sporty red and white bandana.
And when the photo was enhanced,
They could clearly discern a male figure nearby. While the figure wasn't perfectly clear, the context was everything. It placed one of the perpetrators, likely Williams, in the exact area with the dog whose lead was the weapon at the critical time.
it destroyed any possible alibi he might have constructed.
Then, in a final act of surveillance, Penny and Victoria followed Emir Gruffydd. And this is perhaps the most shocking visual confirmation of the cover-up.
They tracked Emir to Llandudno, and there he met casually with the imposter, Gillian Messenger, near the pier.
They exchanged a casual kiss on the cheek, then separated.
This proved unequivocally that Emir was either actively complicit in the cover-up or so deeply deceived by his best friend and the ringer that he was still communicating with her, thinking she was just hiding out.
And given Emma Teasdale's profile of Emmer lacking strength and easily let it, suggests he was manipulated into it.
Manipulated into facilitating the hiding of the body or covering Williams's tracks, but probably not the murder itself.
Okay, with Williams identified as the killer, let's just solidify the motive. Let's pull together the threads of the street drugs book, the London connections, and Meg Wynne's ruthless ambition.
The motive was purely financial conflict tied to a criminal enterprise. Williams was using his facade of real estate wealth to run a significant drug operation,
And he was using contacts in London's media and PR circles.
which explains the Putney Wandsworth links and the second mobile phone. Meg Wynne was heavily involved, likely as a financial conduit or a designer for drug-related materials, using her graphic design skills.
But she was ready to move on.
Marrying Emmer Gruffydd meant inheriting genuine, established Welsh wealth and status. She no longer needed the filthy drug money, as our sources put it.
So she was threatening to either expose Williams or cut ties in a way that would just destabilize his whole operation.
Her actions right before her death support that idea. She had executed a final will, leaving everything to her mother.
And crucially, post-mortem, this inheritance gave her mother the financial independence and courage she needed to finally leave her abusive husband.
It suggests Meg Wynne was trying to secure her mother's future as a final protective act. She knew that confronting Williams might be fatal.
So DCI Davies realized that Williams, having orchestrated this incredibly complex deception, was a major flight risk.
He couldn't risk a direct confrontation.
No, he decided to use Williams's own arrogance against him. He used the second mobile phone recovered from the grave Gillian Messenger's device.
It was a brilliant move. It relied on Williams's desire to control his accomplice. D.S. Morgan, texting as Gillian, sent a message claiming she needed help immediately.
And requested Williams meet her at the Llandudno jail visiting area.
And Williams, supremely confident that he was pulling all the strings, replied with a simple, arrogant, "See you."
To ensure they could apprehend a man as ruthless as Williams, Davies deployed this tactical maneuver he called the Queen Mother Security Detail. Tell us about this strategy.
It's a classic misdirection. Davies borrowed the tactic from a real-life anecdote about security services in Paris. The entire visitor room at the jail was populated with police officers, all in deep disguise.
Some as ordinary visitors, some as staff.
Even a few playing the part of inmates awaiting visits. The goal was to create an atmosphere so mundane and crowded that Williams wouldn't spot the trap until it was sprung.
So Williams arrives impeccably dressed as always, surveying the room for trouble, but he just sees the banality of prison visiting hours. He assumes he's safe.
It was Diaz Morgan, disguised in glasses and a blonde wig, who approached him. She delivered the final arresting message. As she produced her warrant card, the visitors and staff immediately rose and contained Williams.
The sources say he was shouting and struggling.
The perfect facade of control just dissolved into raw panic.
And Morgan delivered the final blow, informing him that forensics were already dismantling his car.
The vehicle, they strongly believed, was used to transport Meg Wynn's body to the gravesite.
And meanwhile, back in Lanolin, Emmer Griffith's family turmoil continued.
His father, Rhys Griffith, died peacefully, adding to Emmer's overwhelming emotional burden. Emmer himself was held briefly by the police.
Davies called it upgraded accommodations.
Right. It was just to ensure Williams remained unaware that the authorities had successfully connected Emmer to the cover-up.
So Emmer, fitting Emma's assessment of being weak and easily led, was eventually confirmed to be a manipulated accomplice in hiding the body, but not the actual killer.
Williams, true to his profile, was the ruthless principal actor. The investigation wraps up confirming that the most crucial insights came not from advanced tech, but from human intuition and deep knowledge of the community.
The narrative then offers this beautiful, unexpected epilogue for our main witness, Penny Brannigan. She learned that Emma Teasdale, whom she called her beloved friend, had left her an unexpected inheritance.
And this wasn't just a token. It was a profound legacy. Emma bequeathed Penny Jonquil Cottage, which Penny entered using the hidden key she already knew the location of.
And a tidy sum. The will also specifically mentioned her antique tea service and that which holds them, the Welsh dresser.
This quiet generosity was Emma's final, profound act of rewarding Penny's fierce loyalty and ultimately her bravery.
And this bravery allows Penny to reclaim her own life. Victoria, recovering from the attack, sets up her heart business in the newly decorated box room.
And Penny transformed it with this magnificent trompe-l'oeil painting of a New England beach, bringing a piece of her own North American heritage into her new Welsh home.
And in a quiet moment of happiness, she begins a romantic relationship with DCI Gareth Davies.
The sources really emphasize her renewed interest in life, a feeling she hadn't experienced since she first met her lost fiancé, Tim, who tragically died rescuing a child from the River Conwy years ago.
Penny's life, once defined by the quiet repetition of happy hands, was completely transformed. She proved that the most complex deceptions can be undone by the simple power of seeing what is actually there instead of what you expect to see.
It's a powerful validation of the idea that true expertise comes in many forms. Penny's ability to recall the precise shade of nail polish, to recognize the abnormality in the height of a coffin, and to link a missing dog accessory to a brutal injury. These were skills honed through meticulous daily observation in a domestic service setting.
The truth was hidden in the details of daily life.
And only someone who respected those granular details could find the break in the pattern.
Exactly. The key takeaway for you, the learner, is to focus on that granular level of detail. The sophisticated killer, David Williams, he meticulously planned the murder and employed a convincing imposter.
Yet the entire conspiracy hinged on minute domestic logistics.
A beautician's recall of her client's unusual poise, a conversation about a hat sitting too high, a housekeeper's awareness of a missing dog lead. The biggest, highest-stakes crime was unmasked by noticing a break in perspective.
And that leads us to our final thought for you to explore, one of the lingering, quieter mysteries of Lanolin.
Penny is now settled in Jonquil Cottage, Emma's home, and she is reflecting on a conversation with Mrs. Lloyd soon after Emma died, who mentioned that Emma had once been romantically involved.
Mrs. Lloyd said, "There was someone once, though, but nothing ever came of it. They certainly never married."
And Penny often sits in Emma's former bedroom, gazing at a glass globe that contains these delicate purple flowers.
So the question hangs in the air. Who was this mystery figure in Emma Teasdale's past? Did they visit her in that cottage? And did they have any connection to the village or to the life that Penny has now inherited?
This deep dive may have solved the sensational murder of the glamorous bride, but sometimes the quietest questions leave us with the most to ponder.